The symbolism was loud, meant for Washington, Paris, and Brussels to hear. When the cabin door opened, the cameras clicked. There he was, tall, calm, dressed not in a suit, but in full olive-green military uniform. The red beret of his paratrooper regiment sat firmly on his head, a pistol at his hip. His steps were slow, controlled. He walked like a soldier, not a politician. No velvet-lined limousine waited, only the quick clicks of Russian and international press cameras. From Ouagadougou, the official note was modest. The president of the transition arrived this Thursday in Moscow. But the reality was anything but modest. Traoré had arrived like a wartime leader on foreign soil, alert, armed, unshaken. He did not come to Moscow as a guest. He came as an equal. Now he was stepping foot into Moscow, not to beg, but to build something new. A new chapter in African diplomacy, one no longer dictated by the West. His arrival was diplomatic symbolism cruising at 30,000 feet, and it sent one clear message: Africa is shifting, Traoré is leading, and the world is watching. Everyone wanted a photo with the son of Africa. Within minutes of his arrival, dozens of people were trying to shake his hand, take pictures, or put on him the black and orange St. George's ribbons that stand for Russia's victory. One moment, almost funny because of how excited people were, showed him standing calmly while a group of fans rushed to take selfies. The joy was spreading fast. Taxi drivers stopped their cars to wave, and even old Russian soldiers gave him a sharp salute and a big smile. For many people watching, this strong and down-to-earth West African captain brought something fresh and powerful to the usual Victory Day events. Strategic talks in the Kremlin. Later on May 10th, Traoré sat down with President Putin in the Kremlin. This was one of the most closely watched moments of the trip. Briefings had promised discussions on strategic issues between the two heads of state. While no formal communiqué was made public, insiders said the agenda included security and defense cooperation, a topic long anticipated by many observers. In fact, Reuters had reported in August 2023 that Moscow's deputy defense minister had already visited Ouagadougou to explore possible military cooperation with Traoré's regime. Among the areas discussed were training of Burkinabe troops, even pilots, in Russian academies. Now, in Moscow, Traoré had a chance to seal those plans over Putin's map table. Though cameras were mostly kept away, Russian press noted afterwards that the talks were held in a new, powerful dimension of cooperation, a hint at the depth of what they discussed. In fact, security cooperation was at the heart of this trip. Ahead of the visit, Russian and Burkinabe officials had quietly discussed exactly how Moscow could fill the void left by France. A Reuters report last year noted that during talks with Russian officials, Traoré had explicitly laid out his wish for military aid, even asking that Burkinabe officer cadets and officers, including pilots, be trained in Russia. Now in Moscow, the expectation was that Traoré would formalize such agreements. Even without official announcements, the symbolism was clear. The red star on Russian hardware paraded down Red Square was set to be mirrored by black stars on Burkinabe shoulders in the near future. Observers pointed out that meanwhile, Russian military instructors and perhaps the infamous Wagner mercenaries were rumored to be active in Burkina Faso. In short, Traoré's victory lap wasn't just political theater, it was the crowning of a new defense partnership. Across the Atlantic, Traoré's 5-day trip to Moscow raised concern and surprise. Western media and experts saw it as clear proof that Burkina Faso was now siding with Russia and moving away from its old allies. As Reuters reported earlier in 2025, Russia is trying to build closer ties with African countries, presenting itself as a friendly partner without a colonial past in Africa. In reality, that message is catching on. Burkina had already kicked out the last French soldiers in 2023 and by early 2025 joined a new group called the Alliance of Sahel States, with Mali and Niger, even leaving the West African regional group ECOWAS. For the US and France, Traoré's warm welcome by Putin sent a strong warning that old partnerships were falling apart. One US expert on Africa said directly that the Soviet victory event had turned into a stage where Western power falls in shame after failed coup attempts in the Sahel, a win for Russian diplomacy over the West's longtime control. Simply put, Traoré's visit was taken in Europe and the US as a clear rejection. Burkina Faso had picked Moscow over Paris, and Europe was watching without any way to stop it. Moment 10. A seat at the world table. By the end of his trip, Traoré ended up in a surprising group. Photos shared on May 10th showed him standing beside President Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe, President Abbas of Palestine, and the presidents of Abkhazia and South Ossetia, all gathered under the Russian flag. In the Kremlin's official message, they were called the heads of foreign delegations, honored during Victory Day. For many people watching, the scene was unexpected. An African army captain in uniform, standing confidently with leaders from Asia, the Middle East, and regions involved in long-running conflicts from the old Soviet Union. It showed the beginning of a new group of non-Western countries coming together in Red Square. Traoré's black gloves and the red flags made it feel like the world's power map was changing. In that moment, the message from Moscow in 2025 was clear. Burkina Faso, a small but bold country, had claimed its spot on the world stage, standing side by side with other rising powers. Traoré's fast-moving week in Moscow will be remembered for a long time. Was it a strong show of independence or a risky move? Many African watchers say it was both. He left Burkina Faso with stories to inspire his people, marching in Russian style, eating sea bass, and standing in the impressive halls of the Kremlin, showing clearly that the time of following Paris is over. At the same time, some Western experts warn that giving so much support to Russia might have a cost, becoming too dependent or facing new outside control. But everyone agrees this visit showed a high level of trust between Traoré's military government and Moscow, built on their shared fight against colonial control. The pictures of Traoré in Red Square have already created a clear message. Captain Traoré, once a little-known African soldier, stood at the center of world politics in 2008-2025. Only time will show where this Russia-Burkina Faso relationship goes, but for now, it has clearly changed the story of the Sahel and global diplomacy on Victory Day. From this moment on, what do you think about Ibrahim Traoré's achievements and his strategic plan to connect with powerful world leaders beyond Western influence? Thanks for watching. I wish you better life, foods, and money. Stay in the Big Wins family.